Hi, this is Paris Wolf teaching Security Plus. So there's many different types of security controls. A technical control restricts access to the resources. And so those resources are the files, database, and the network or getting access to the network. And the way they implement those technical controls are through the firewall, encryption, antivirus software, network segmentation, or something such as a smart card. Now, with managerial controls, those are known as administrative controls, and those are policies and procedures in place to help mitigate the risk within an organization. Now, security awareness training is the most cost effective control to use. So, your management might say if you receive an email from an unknown user, don't click on the link, forward that to security. Now, with operational controls, those rely on a person for implementation. And I want to note that classification systems do have some overlap, and it's designed to help you assess the capabilities compared to a specific framework. Now, an example of another operational control is that checking the permissions are applied to the policy is operational. So you may go in there and check that a file has the correct permissions for who can access that and who does not. Now, with physical controls, that's designed to safeguard the physical assets of the facility. So that could be an example of fences or man traps or cameras, locks on the doors, USB data blockers. Now, how can you prevent data from being transferred to media devices? Is it a Faraday cage? No, it's not. A Faraday cage typically goes around the server, and that protects it from EMI or electromagnetic interference. And essentially, the bad guys have some devices where they have where they can read that EMI, and so you don't want them to be able to read that. So that's why you have a Faraday cage around these servers. Now, with the policies in place, that's just a make sure that you don't access or click on this link, such as from management. So it doesn't actually enforce, but it does help prevent. Now, the best option on here would be the USB data blocker because that is can actually prevent the data from being transferred versus a policy. Now, encryption, that means that your plain text data or data that is can just be read, just as the data here on the screen is encrypted. And when it's encrypted, it's unreadable. Now, how can you prevent the data from being transferred? The USB data blocker. So what they do here is they take out the wires within the USB, and so now it can no longer transfer data. Now, how can you prevent unauthorized internet connections? Okay, so the first option here, salting, that's referring to when you type in a password on a website, it adds a random set of characters to your password to make it longer and create more randomness because then it hashes it. So that's not the answer. Now, with the firewall, that is the best option here because that's going to prevent unauthorized internet connections. And we'll take a look at that here in a moment. Now, policies in place doesn't work and user training does not work. So here's an example firewall where it has the first set of the rules. The rule on the top is the first one that's implemented. So if this first one on the top said deny, deny, then all the rules below it would no longer matter. Now, since the first one says allow, it's going to allow any protocol from IP from the source, so who it's receiving it from, and then the destination. So that's where it's going, and as long as it's on port 80, that's a HTTP or for accessing the internet. So it's going to allow that. So if you want to prevent, you would have deny IP from the specific source and then the destination.